am uitat. Bună ziua, ne-am întors cu interviurile Teatrul Azi la Festivalul Internațional Shakespeare din Craiova. Eu sunt Amalia Tănase. Teatrul Azi este o publicație editată de Uniter prin Fundația Culturală Camil Petrescu și finanțată de Ministerul Culturii. Suntem aici cu podcasturile noastre, ajungi deja la a doua ediție. Suntem foarte bucuroși că am reușit să continuăm acest parteneriat și ne dorim să-l ducem mai departe. Sunt aici alături de 3 membre ale colectivului artistic Hertz House din Polonia, care ne prezintă performance-ul de dans contemporan To Beach or Not To Beach, mâine pe 30, și vreau să apucăm să vorbim puțin cu ele despre ce înseamnă acest performance. Hello.
Hi.
And thank you for being here today with us. Thank you for accepting and for being our guests. For my first question is actually about your artistic collective, Hertz House. I want to learn more from you because you came to Romania some months ago with the exact show, and I want to know your history and who are you?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. We are very glad to be here. Our collective consists of 4 dancers, and we are like half of them here. My name is Anna.
You're Anna.
Besides that, there is Magdalena and Natalia, and here with us is also Patricia.
Hi, I'm Patricia. I'm not technically a member of Hertz House. I'm a dramaturg that cooperated with them on To Beach or Not To Beach.
Yes.
And, what is your history? How did it? I know it was founded in 2018, if I'm correct. And how did it start? What were the needs behind this, behind this collective, and how is it developing to nowadays?
So we start, I think we found each other. Before we was in a bigger group, but then afterwards only 4 of us decided that we have something in common and we have same purpose to create something new that we are interested in. And I think it was, none of us was professional dancer before, but we really wanted to create something new. And I think that was the origin of our collective. At the beginning, Natalia was on the other side. We, Anya, me, Magda, and a few other people, we that was the configuration that we worked at the beginning. But then Natalia said, I want to be on a stage with you, and we said we want to be on the other side. We want to decide what performances we want to create together. So we, at that moment, I think we didn't think about that we are creating collective. Like we knew we just need to work together.
Yeah, we just had the same dynamics and the goals, and I guess we were just driven to do something, and that became theater collective. Yeah.
Yes.
And I know we talked about it before a bit. You mentioned the rehearsals and also the public institutes in Poland. Your situation is quite similar to ours, to Romania's situation in culture and education. Tell me more about this, and how is dance, contemporary dance and artistic moves perceived in Poland? A new and fresh collective like yours, and also in a devising artistic group, it's hard because you have to maybe write to a lot of institutes, right, to get them understand your reasons behind. So how is that?
Well, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
We had to make an association to have the opportunity to apply for funding. And also, as you may know, like we do everything around, like from the production, through the artistic process, through the
Creating costumes even.
promotion, making posters. It's like we are our own machine that does all of this, and
Usually it's because we don't have fundings to hire someone to do this. But like this time we, for example, was able to hire Patricia. So it's like we are looking for ways to create something that not only we have to do everything, but the problem is usually with the stage and the place to rehearsals, and then find findings. So we had to like get to know us, like go to institutions somehow and try to talk with them if we can create a program together, found findings, and then we can show our performance, for example. So we need to create our own repertoire in Gdańsk. There's no...
Yeah, but we never know if we get the funds to have a yearly repertoire. So
You have to apply, right?
yes,
As an independent
yes.
collective, and always reapply to those funds.
Yes, and also we don't have a production house. We don't have any house. It's an inside joke that we are
Hertz House.
Hertz House without the house, you know. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the independent scene is very underfinanced, massively underfinanced. And the disproportion between repertoire theater and independent scene, it's really painful, because you know, once you work on both sides, you kind of feel how much work you have to put into independent working and how much can be done by other people once you work in an institution. So the effort that you have to put in as, you know, a collective, a duet, etc. It's many people, you know.
Yeah, actually, this year Warsaw opened first choreographic center that it's called Pavilion Tańca in Warsaw. There was no place for dancers that was for dancers that
around and just to be able to sit down and create new projects.
Like, I mean, for independent artists, because there are some dance theaters, but it's like it's very hard for people. Like in Poland, there is a lot of like people that work on their own, or they group up to do some performance, and they change the group. So it's like atoms everywhere. And I mean, the group of dancers is big, but they don't have anywhere to perform and to create, to have rehearsals. Yeah.
It is changing though, but the pace is very slow. And for so many people that are, you know, incredibly talented, not to have a platform to actually create work, I'm already mad when I'm thinking about it.
I mean, it's possible because every time we ask the institutions, some of them have some free spaces and schedule to, but it's every time it's a work to do, and it's not artistic work. Yeah.
You sometimes get lost in the process of doing something even earlier in the in the making, and but it's nice because of I saw that your collective, your artistic collective, is going around the world and just doing these cultural exchanges. So I think it's a beginning for national centers of dance around the world. As you came here last autumn, I think you came at the National Center of Dance in Bucharest, and there was a very extraordinary opportunity to see Polish artists come here and come to us, and then maybe we'll go there and just exchange cultures. We're also very similar in history and everything, so traditions. So I think it may be a future. We may have this if we keep breaking those barriers. But I also read on your site something that really amazed me, and it sounds so good, and I actually felt this watching your show. You said that Hertz House it's like philosophy meets physiology. Because all of a sudden, Shakespeare, who is this big giant and a playwright that everyone just simply adores, just becomes part of us. And you not just normalize him, but get him closer to us. And you give it nuances for understanding his relation to women and to feminism. So how is this for you? How is Shakespeare for you today?
Tough question. May I talk about how this performance came to life even?
Yeah.
Because it's quite important that the Hertz House responded to an open call by Gdańsk Shakespeare Festival, and they are so kind to provide some funds for independent artists each year. They have the program called Shakespeare Off. You can apply and create stuff with a budget that's kind of decent, I would say. And then, Shakespeare is something that they require to refer to. So what was the original process was to start from Shakespeare as a base. And the topic that you came up with first was purity versus stains versus pollution, etc. So sort of, I think it was a bit the other way around, not the decision to, okay, let's work on Shakespeare, but even beforehand, before this open call, you had this idea on working on the subject. And with Shakespeare, it created, I think, a great combination, because something abstract found a way in literature, in drama. So I would say Shakespeare is something to, thrive on, I think, to fall in love with contemporarily and sort of suck the life out of him, to use him, I would say. It was very, he's old news, it's retro Shakespeare now. So to use it contemporarily, it's very, it's giving, it's giving back once you read into it. That's what I felt when, you guys thought, okay, let's mix this. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was when we were reading that we can show the history, we can show the things, the story, but there was a question: what is doing this? What we are reading with us, like what we feel as women, and also how we can play with that. Not only about the story, but what we feel, but also what is the words that he was using. So that kind of weird structure and looking from the point of today, it was it was really interesting, especially that before we didn't work so much with words and with sentences inside, and we still had this idea like, okay, but how we can show it through the performance, not talking about talking heads, but how we can transfer it through us and how we want to show it.
And I mean, the language is obviously poetic, but it's very rich in symbols. And for us, we just managed to pick some words that somehow vibrated in, and we did some improvisations, and that's how some of the scenes began. Yeah.
And the title is very interesting. So how was it? You took the soliloquy, the most known in the world, so to be or not to be, and you put it very simply, but also it's very impactful and it's comedic. And I think your show, it has a lot of irony and a lot of comedy. That's why it's very easy to connect with you, because you're not proposing a very great thesis and not telling us what it's about. You're very organic and also just funny. So tell me a bit about the title and the meaning behind it.
It was a joke at the beginning, I think. Like we immersed into Shakespeare. Like we felt like, okay, we will do it. But Yeah, and I think it was a joke during the rehearsal, and we said that sentence, and then when we start to think about it, what it means to us, it was funny. We know that at the beginning, but it was like what the bitch means. So all the meanings that we went through, but also what with the sentence of that, we felt like we can play with that. We can handle and maybe it's not even in the performance, but we know that it gives us this feeling that we want to construct with this piece.
But also what is important, I don't know if the word is the same. In Polish it's a kalambur. It's what Shakespeare does sometimes. Like much do about nothing. So it's like in Polish, to bitch or not to bitch, to be or not to be is to być czy nie być. So it's like kind of sounding the same in Polish. Yes.
Yes.
Still, I would say that it is in the performance. I think even the title came before actually the performance formed, and I think it fueled the performance in some way, in the way of focusing on the topic, because it asked the questions about, you know, female body, what is actually, what do we claim, what is stolen from us, etc., and, you know, to bitch about it or not to bitch about it, you know? Do we have the right to do it? So I would say it's a bold move that fits it perfectly.
It's bold and it's kind of owning your sassiness sometimes, or owning your feminine side in this way, or just be ashamed of it and hide. And I feel like you reveal everything just because you want to face other people with this. It's comedic. It's comedic that nowadays we still cannot be. Human bodies are accepted, except they're female, everywhere. So it's okay. But if I see your breast, it's not okay anymore. So this is why I think your comedy really hits the soft spots. Especially the Romanian public. I've seen some great reactions after your show, and I was so excited because you kind of tickled the nerve. And how is Shakespeare contemporary nowadays? How can we make him our contemporary? Because we always claim Shakespeare and say, okay, he will be actual always, but at the same time we have to give him the instruments, right? So is it technology? Is it a social message? What is it that we can apply to him?
I think it's about treating him as a partner, you know, not to, because it's easy to say, oh, you know, Rape of Lucrece, which is actually the reference of to beach or not to beach, it reproduces rape. He is really, in a very poetic way, he is describing rape. And you could do an eye-tie man performance, you know, but the fact not to put on him the mask of someone that promotes violence, which I would say this is the first thought that comes to mind, but to give him a subject, not to take the subject from him, but to give the subject to something that really exists. So to do Shakespeare plus, I would say. And the way he writes, it's cheeky, because really, as you say, it will always be contemporary, and it doesn't happen with other classical plays, with other classical authors. It does not. I think it's a combination of this wordplay, you know, and the way how he handles the subject, sort of like a little ball that he is playing with, etc. So I would say he's like somebody to refer to, not to picture, not to, you know, be very subtle and very nice to him and respect him, etc. I don't really like him, and this makes me love him, really, because each time I think, Shakespeare, what can surprise me? And then you go into it and it's like, poof. But I think the initiative, it has to be very strong and sincere, and then he's a very pleasant partner to work with.
Yeah, I have also this thought about how he described physiology, and even if, like, nowadays we had so many new technologies, and we can use that in the theater, and we can use that every day in our lives. It's still our body is producing many liquids, like the smell, and I feel like he's using that a lot in his words. So he's talking about something that is still relevant to us, like thinking about flesh and body and blood. This is something that we cannot stop, and maybe also this kind of connection that we can still feel it and see, even if we want to reduce everything and be like clean as possible, we will have to handle that in the future or nowadays every day. So it's yeah.
I mean, he also writes about human traces and conflicts, and probably we don't change as a human, so
Yeah.
that's maybe some utopia, but maybe one day we won't like read the rape of Lucrece, because it's not going to be present as a topic in our society. But for now it is, and we want to talk about it. Yeah.
I also thought how it applies to physical theater, because Shakespeare, he produces so many words. Like really, he loves to speak, you know, like to do like this with the text. And once you reduce it to a single word that can produce a whole scene, I think this makes him contemporary, because the forms of art that are present now, and how I wouldn't say that To Beach or Not to Beach is just a dance piece. It's a performance art, I would say, in which the body is really speaking in so many ways. So, you know, for him to be, for what he writes, to be so, such a pool to swim in, it's, I hope that, you know, we encounter many more ways of making art, and he can still, as a point of reference, fuel this. So I love to see the performance and remember the text, but you don't really need to know the text. We follow it a bit, we put parts of it in there, but it's just a few lines. You can read them and you can imagine the rest, because what they are carrying on stage is, you know, giving the rest. I love it.
Cool. And because you mentioned this, I'm curious, how is your work process behind, and how are your rehearsals regarding the text? Because it's a beautiful thing that we also try to develop here, to work with a dramaturgist with a dramaturg, and also develop a scenario beforehand and before getting into a dance piece, of performance art piece. So, do you come with an idea and do you develop it, and then you try to work it with a dancer, with a choreographer, or is everything getting imagined right there on the spot, getting created right on the spot?
I think there was not much before we started rehearsing. I would say that there were parts of the text that we wanted to refer to, either in a way that you put them on stage or they fuel a scene, but you know, the subject is the most important, because if you use literature and you have the subject guides you through it. So I think it's like a filter. You have, you know, a filter, you go through text, it's like this, and suddenly a material that was enormous becomes very small. And then it's easy to, not just to take stuff from it, but also to make it bigger, but yourself already, like in a way that you're an author of this material already. This is why I love to talk about Shakespeare, about colonizing him, because you are the artist now, you are the author. So I would say with a dance piece, it's amazing how very small stuff can fuel the whole thing. I keep saying fuel for some reason, but it is something to, you know, like a meal that you're having with the text. So what was really cool that we took parts of the text and got them for rehearsals, but they disappeared easily. Lots of it disappeared. Like you guys, you didn't need it anymore, right?
Yeah, it was in us when we were creating a scene or like choreography. Like we knew what we are talking about, but the specific words or sentence was like we thought from the visual side, and Patricia sometimes just came in and just put it will fit here, like this sentence here. And this is another layer to it, because sometimes maybe from our side, from our dance world, we can try to do everything so abstract. Like you can interpret that as you want. But yeah, with Patricia, it was wonderful to collaborate and think from both sides also how we can put like Shakespeare words, but into the performance, and we felt like it is like good combination that we can meet at perfect spot, that the performance at the end is understandable but still open.
But credit to them, they came up with a great concept of the performers on stage being cleaning personas, you know. It's genius in terms of, you know, dealing with the subject of rape, to have people that do cleaning for a living and they can encounter a, let's say, metaphor of Lucrece, a persona that is created. She's not really a character in this, no, she's a being. So, and to have this tool of cleaning in a metaphorical way and in a very literal way, in the way you're dressed, in the way what requisites you're handling, etc. This really made it very easy to deal with the material, because whatever you did, it had meaning already, the basic meaning. The performance starts with them cleaning the floor, and it's like you already know, you know, the subject is there, so you can sail through it then.
And I also want to know, how is this, how is the Shakespearean language wittiness translated into dance? Because you mentioned the coherence. So you have a dialogue with a playwright, with a dramaturg. So you have to also be clear for the audiences, for them to understand you, but also not rip away the fantasy. You mentioned that it has to be open, and that is probably the most exciting thing about dance, because it gives you so much freedom. Sometimes it's even greater than theater. You have all the freedom in the world, and that is why sometimes performances are quite, you cannot actually get close to them. So how do you create a coherence piece of art?
Tough question. Really tough question.
Or is it has to be coherent? Because I'm putting just from one side of viewing it. But does it have to be coherent? Or can we also just make art that we can only understand, and the rest of the public only has to...
Coherent how? With what?
You have multiple meanings. You have a lot of layers of meanings in this. And I feel like you're letting them, it's like an onion. And you take a layer out, and then you take another layer out. But I can actually quite see your beforehand rational thinking, because it's quite clear for me as a public member. So how is it for you when you created this? Did you have this in mind, or?
I think it's a language of body that speaks for itself, you know. We consist of so many layers, like literally, you know, the way how many hands we have, and when you look into us, it's crazy. The organs, the skin. So sort of, I'm thinking also the body of the text is layered, as you said before. Shakespeare is layered. So I think it's like looking into a mirror, and the coherence happens itself. Sometimes when I'm thinking that about this performance, it came so naturally, I would say. Like, you know, that things fit instantly. And it is because Shakespeare is so, I would say, literal, even if it's poetic. But he is speaking of a very specific event, you know, and this specific event is connected to the body fully and totally. And this creates this rhyme that you can, you know, you listen to Shakespeare, and also he's a man. That really is something that we have to take into consideration, that you have 4 bodies advocating for Lucrece on stage, and you have an author of her body in the body of the text. So the wittiness, I would say, in the meeting of dance and text, it jumps, you know, it's even bigger. It's fun, even with the heaviness of the subject. And also there's a scene in which Natalia, she's just quoting words, no? Dirty words, and cleaning her teeth. I hope I'm not spoiling too much.
You're spoiling a bit.
Yeah, but you know, this is also very literal, and for a simple gesture, so much sense is put into it. And this is the performance art side of it, I think, because, you know, it also comes from the gesture that we do every day. We're cleaning the teeth every day. We're also swearing every day, and it all fits into this. So, yeah, I think it's hard for us to speak about this coherence thing, because it's just there. I think that makes it a bit invisible.
But we are doing it on purpose to not to create beautiful choreography. When we work on a specific scene, we are like thinking from the body perspective, like everyday life, what we are doing with this body, what is happening with the body during some situations. And that's why we are not thinking about the dance specifically. We are using that, but we are still looking for something that interests us, some gestures. And I think this is also just kind of easier to understand to the audience. It's not like totally abstract dancing move, but like something specific that can relate. So it's also on purpose that we are trying to find this maybe better understanding with and then we can mix, like we can do something very like grounded, something that everyone knows, and then do something totally abstract that we can just something like we can just imagine in our head and do this with our body. So this kind of mix gives us maybe the balance and this connection with the audience.
Also, some stuff comes intuitively, because I remember you thinking about the elegance of movements, which are very, you know, Shakespeare-like, but they also carry the meaning of, you know, something structured, something beautiful on purpose, but spoiled. Yes, but
trying to not bother anyone.
Yes, it's so pretty. It's so, you know, and beneath this, there's something really stinky going on. So when you thought, I think the idea of, you know, thinking first about the elegance of movement and then thinking what meanings it can carry, then it's really, it makes it interesting to work with, because it's not, oh, this idea would be that they do this and then we do this and then it's a scene. No, let's try to work with elegant movement for 2 hours, no? And then you come up with a scene.
And play with that and find the different dimensions that we are interested in. So, yeah.
And I think the coherence also comes from like working intuitively, but also we have probably the same taste in like visuals, and also it's a democracy in collective, and we all have to feel that it's truthfully conveying the message. So I think it's in the family somehow. Yeah.
in the house.
Yeah.
So, for my own curiosity, what are the main themes or social subjects or personal subjects that you want to explore more in your future performances?
Again, tough question.
If I can actually
Collectively?
or just individual that you also maybe want to explore together.
For now, we started working with pleasure.
Again, connected with body.
Yeah.
So that's why we went to swimming pool today to just
For research purposes.
yes, research. Exactly.
As I'm not, I'm a different planet in this configuration, but something that is really interesting for me today is neurodiversity. It's also in the body, but it's also in the mind. And somehow this became a very popular subject now. It becomes more and more popular. And I'm sort of fed up with it. And I am now writing a text in which it's a dystopia of, being neurodivergent is something that you should not do. It's like it should be forbidden. So I think what's interesting is how to turn around stuff that are everywhere and make them, upside down in order to see them better. Because this is why I love dance and formal theater, not psychology, because it's a mirror, but a mirror in which you see things, strange. So then you can reflect back to some day-to-day stuff that it's kind of boring, and it's not boring. It has stuff boiling inside. So I cannot wait for the pleasure thing. That will be great.
We are giving ourselves the pleasure of not having a deadline. So I don't know if that's gonna be this year, but
It will take time. Yeah.
It's beautiful when you actually have the time to explore. So take your time. We'll wait. We're waiting for you. Then for my last question is, this year's edition, it has this theme that everyone tries to give a powerful meaning, but it has its meaning, and I think it can be also very personal. So will matters. Will as in William Shakespeare, of course, and in as power of will. How do you see this theme? What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think about it?
I don't know if what Lucrece did was her will or William Shakespeare's will, and this is something that we disagree with. So our will is to give her the choice and disobey.
Yeah, to reclaim something, something was stolen, something was stained, and it's still yours. It was not taken away from you. So I would say the will to dispose of your own body, to matter, not to think, not to answer to anyone, just to be strong. It's very simple, and I wouldn't even say it's feministic. It's universal. This is, we should not speak of such pieces as feministic because they are just regular. It's decency to think like this. So yeah.
It's interesting to remind all people on the audience that this is the theme, and it's interesting when I think about it how they will perceive our performance after thinking about this sentence. It is something. I think it changes a little bit the performance, but it's rather giving another dimension that people can just feel through the performance.
And also to think about society, because we can often say that the society has a common will, which is what is this? It's each of us have our own individual will, which can create a common will. So I think will matters in terms of if we stand for what we believe in, we can then create something meaningful, but together, because that's why the collective is so great, no? Because you're not individuals struggling. You have someone to work with, to be close with.
Well, that was it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And good luck with your performance. And I wish you come back to Romania again. Sooner or later, we are waiting for you. Mulțumim. Ne întoarcem de la mâine, de la 11 și continuăm ediția din acest an a interviurilor Teatru Azi cu ultima zi de dialoguri. Mulțumim!